Thanks so much, Danny. So you might notice that if you had a chance to interact with me today, that I'm trying to fist bump. And I'm doing this for a bunch of reasons. One is, if you can tell from my voice, I'm a little under the weather, right? So you don't want to shake my hand, you want to fist bump. And second, I think this should be a trend. I think if I understood correctly, like the cold and flu cost the US economy like $30-some-odd billion a year. So this is helping America's road to economic recovery. All right? Join me in the fight with your fist. It's one of the rare ways that people with no muscles at all can contribute to the economy with their fists. So first off, Danny, I'm really honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back. I haven't been to SMX West for a few years now, and so it's exciting. It brings back memories to be in the hall and to see all of you great folks. And I want to start by saying something that I don't usually give caveats at the start of a talk, but this particular presentation is a little different. In fact, a lot different from the ones that I usually give. So I saw Arnie's very nice tweet that he expects great things from my talk, but it's not going to be as tactical as I usually get. Like, I like to go really deep. I like to give very, very actionable advice. And this talk is a little bit broader. This is a little bit more about identity. And so, as such, it contains a lot more of my personal opinion. So I hope you'll forgive that. All right. We're going to do a countdown. 5 shifts in SEO that you guys all know about, because I have faith that you know about these. Right? So first one, boom. A ton more diversity in result types, right? Here we have our standard 10 blue links. This is around, according to the data that we've got, like around 17% of search results still have 10 blue links. And then you see the maps results with the local results, right? And the local reviews in there. And then we've got the local carousel that Wister just talked about and showed us. And here's UNESCO's page, right? They have the site links and the search site links, and they have the news results. Alaska Airlines has a knowledge graph with even more detail and results. Caveat, I don't actually know whether they have a deal with Google or if this just happens to them. I suspect there's a little of both going on. Here's recipe search, right? A bunch of schema.org markup that's really cool happening in there. Here's Tornado Alley. This has got its own knowledge graph. It has image results, it has news results. It's basically got the works. This one, well, this is an important search query, people. You can't laugh at unicorn meat. All right, that's the first one. Second one, there's a lot of cannibalization of traffic referring queries. So like Matt and Ahmed are not in here, right? Yeah, okay, sweet. So I kind of like to think of the search results as like the Ukraine, right? And we're like, the Ukrainian people. And then sometimes in the head of the demand curve, which I'm gonna call the Crimea, right? The Crimean Peninsula, like Google, Putin, gets this idea that he just doesn't want us to have any more of this, right? So like, no traffic for you. No traffic you either. It's a terrible Russian accent. I can do a pretty good German one. I got interviewed by like these public television guys from Germany about Google privacy. Privacy, what's I think the term? Right, like, Google's getting just a lion's share. If you're not clicking on the ads, you're clicking on Google, right? This is the most pernicious one of all, in my opinion, by the way, right? Because what's happening here is that they're taking this data directly from that website, right? AmericanGemSociety.org, and that's the information I was looking for. But American Gem Society, they don't get the traffic anymore. They don't get not even one visit. Even one visit, and yet, how many people are searching for this? And they're helping them. That's cold. It's cold, dog. All right, number 3. So, Wister also mentioned not provided, right? Keyword not provided, which has gone to a tremendously high percentage of all of our results. And the thing that frustrates me about this is that it's not that it's happening, it's how it's happening, right? If Google said like, hey, look, we're doing this, we really want to own the retargeting market. There could be some privacy benefits to it, but mostly it's us just wanting to control this data. I'd be like, hey, you know what? Cool, it's your guys' engine. You're being transparent about why it's happening. Awesome, I'm with you. What I really don't like is the doublespeak. We don't need the doublespeak. We don't need Google making people who collect search keyword data looking bad in the media. Like, we don't. SEOs look bad enough in the media. Do you read the mainstream media about us? Like, we are the devil and, you know, I don't know, whoever's invading whatever country today. And then there's Google Plus's overwhelming influence. So I just did a search, right, for TV tablet users, and there's Ruud Hein, who I follow on Google Plus, and because I follow him on Google Plus, no other reason, he ranks number 3 for, I mean, basically he's just linking to the result above it, right? It's just a Google Plus post that's in there. But this dominates, when I'm logged in, Google Plus dominates most of my industry-related search queries because I follow lots of people in our industry. Like, AJ, do you know how often you're in my Google results? Like, you don't even have to do SEO anymore, boss. It's cheating. You cheating. Cheating. It's good cheating. I mean, it's kind of sweet for those of us who understand how Google Plus works, right? But like, it happening again, right? And then the rel author markup, right? And the Google Plus pages call out for Jeff Sauer there at the bottom, right? And then Google Plus local, which completely dominates local. Like, you don't even get to play unless you're in there. So this is pretty remarkable, right? I mean, essentially, Google used to be like, well, don't manipulate results like this, but now it's like, well, but do it through Google Plus, right? It's totally kosher. And then the fifth and last one that I think we're all seeing is this long-awaited, long-expected domination and dominance of bias towards brands in search, right? And not just in search, right? So this is from the Mozcast data, right? That Dr. P puts together. So I asked him for the sort of the whole timeline, and it's a little spiky, but 27% growth over 2 years for just the top 10 domains appearing in Google. That's significant, right? But it's also how they favor other things, right? Like, if you're a brand, Google can't really take you out because then they look bad. If you're not a brand, they can take you out all day long for forever. And the only person who looks bad is you. This bias has been talked about for years, and finally I feel like it's actually here. We were at 5, now we're at 4. 4 subtle changes that I think not everyone might know. Most of you in the audience probably have some of these, some of you might have all of them. Right, so content growth, this is a weird thing, but content growth as a percentage of a rate of growth is actually exceeding the growth rate of new queries, or the growth rate of queries themselves, right? Which is new. That has not happened in the past, because look at the years before this, right? What are we talking about? 58% growth, 28% growth, 43% growth, 31%, 16%, 11%, 11%, minus 3%. Now, before you go doom and gloom, this is again stolen from AJ. Basically, you should just come up here and do this talk. From his Google Plus, in fact, so right, like 2013 actually did have 11 months of positive year-over-year desktop search growth, which might surprise a lot of people. You thought mobile was cannibalizing desktop, right? Or at least tablets were. No, desktop search still growing quite robustly. But content, my friends. Oh my God, we are all pouring dollars into content. We're in this room for Tammy's talk and Sarah's talk before that. Like content is just eating the marketing world. Was that 44 billion? 44 billion. Jeez. And this is what I think is going to happen as a result. This is my personal opinion, but I think much like we saw ad fatigue in the early, like the first 5, 10 years of the web, right? From like 93 to about 2003, you saw this ad fatigue and like click-through rates just dropped precipitously. It used to be you could get like 1% click-through rate on a banner ad. Now, 0.01, you'd be like, man, that's just not bad, right? Like that's not actually that bad. But man, I think this is going to happen in the world of content as well. We are so overexposed to so much content, and younger consumers, younger users of the internet are exposed to so much more of it than even we are, and will be throughout their life, that I think they're going to get the same kind of blindness and fatigue that we have for advertising. That's a little scary. That means to stand out, you got to do something really extraordinary. Really extraordinary. All right, cell phone picture, good? Almost. Okay, all right, sweet. You just, yeah, right? Like if I'm in the audience, I want to wait for, all right. Number 2, on-page's impact is finally, at long last, it's growing. Holy moly, like it's been shrinking for forever. It's, it's been like off-page SEO is growing. On-page is back, boys and girls. This is not a hip-hop show, and I am so white and Jewish, like I should just, I don't know. And nebbishy too, right? It's like, oh, I don't feel good about myself. All right, so, but look at this, right? Like I do a search for warm places in the US to visit in December. Do you know where the title tags, like the articles that actually say warm places to visit in December in the US or warm place in the US to visit in December, like the keyword matching stuff is on page 3 and page 4. It used to be on page 1, but Google has gotten way smarter, right? Topic modeling and like intent stuff, and obviously Hummingbird has taken a big chunk with this, right? And they've gotten way more advanced. But for the last 2-3 years, like you kind of have to do more intent matching, more quality matching than you do keyword matching. That is new. That is new. We also have this new philosophy and approach to web spam and to the PR around web spam. Not all of it, great, but, right? So like back in the day, in fact, for a long, long time, Google was sort of like, you know what? Spam is our business. Like we'll figure it out, we'll take care of it. You let us worry about spam. And it was a little black boxy. In fact, it was very black boxy. It continues to be black boxy, but today, spam is your problem. Spam isn't just our problem. Spam is your problem, right? I mean, with disavowing links and reporting stuff, right? And reconsideration request systems, and all of these get looked at by human beings and reviewed. Like, spam is not their problem. Spam is your problem. I'm not totally sure how I feel about it. After years of complaining about the other way, like now I find myself, the grass is always greener. That's just, another weird thing, right, is that Google has been introducing machine learning over the last few years for the first time, right? So this is, I love the fact that you can go on Quora and actually follow some like Google search engineers who worked on the search quality and web spam teams, like Edmund, right? And so Edmund says, right, like he says, from what I've gained while I was there, and Amit's about to take the stage after me, so you can ask him about this, right? Amit Singhal, who heads Google's core ranking team, has a philosophical bias against using machine learning in search rankings. And I think that philosophical bias actually changed. It changed, right? With things like Panda and Penguin and subsequent algorithmic updates. Is everyone familiar? Raise your hand if you would like 30 seconds on machine learning, just to feel like you're totally comfortable with it. Okay, all right, thank you. So, the idea is basically that you have this input. You take a bunch of sites that Google doesn't like. Well, Google takes a bunch of sites that they don't like, that they wish were not ranking. They put them into a feature extractor. They take out all these features about them, any and every signal they can find, right? And then they build a model based on that. And then they look at the model, like they look at signals that correlate with bad sites, and then they make the model match up against the results that they do or don't want to see. So I'll give you a quick example. One of the things that we see that correlates extremely highly with spam is if you have more than 2 hyphens in your domain name, right? Like it turns out that Martha's-finest-hotel-in-san-jose.com, not a good site. Chris, I'm sorry, I know you own that domain, I just outed you, but I mean, it's not a great site. Like, you gotta put some more work in it. Front page, really. I mean, so, but this happens, and then you get machine learning, and then what do you see happen, right? On the flip side, you see a bunch of people in Germany who are very upset because they're actually used to using hyphens in domain names, and like maybe Google was a little aggressive with this particular signal, right? Now that is a way oversimplification, but this is essentially how machine learning is working. So you don't get to see all the algorithmic inputs. You really get to see like what goes into the training model and what comes out the other side. It's kind of interesting. So we're reacting, right? We're reacting. I'm gonna give my voice a break, and I'll have the slides walk you through the 3 ways that we're reacting to this. I know you guys have been to some of those forums where people are like this, right? They're just, You can't read it in the back of the room, huh? Here. I'll do my best, Emperor Palpatine. Young fools, only now do you see the folly of retweeting sick burns on Matt Cutts as your primary defense mechanism. All right. And then some of us are like, oh, we should modify our strategic input. So I like to imagine that lots of Dr. Pete's weekends were burned to bring us this information. And then there's these guys too, right? If I want some effing links, you sell me links, man. It's just, shut up and sell me links. All right, well, okay. So there's reactions. There have been two remarkable changes to the industry overall, right? Not the inputs on us, but our actual industry. One of these can be illustrated through kind of evolution of technical SEO. So you remember back in the day, maybe you do, right? Late 90s, early 2000s, like technical SEOs, you had a few responsibilities, and I'm not representing all of them here, right? But it kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and oh my God. And now you're just like, you know, Google introduces a new kind of schema, and you know, you get a message from someone in your marketing team that's like, hey, how come our competitor's doing this and we're not doing it? You're like, do you know what I have to do every day? Right? Whoa. Thank you, Keanu. I think they're making another one. Are they making another one? Ah, yes. It's gonna be so bad and so good. Right? But and of course, like, this is not just true in technical SEO. This is true in like every facet of SEO. You can take that same phenomenon, that same feeling, and it's just growing, 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 growing. Ugh. We're responsible for a lot. The other weird thing that I see is that, like, from the time that before I was in the industry, right? Like, we used to call ourselves SEO. That's what we had. Like, that was in our job title. That was who we were. We were SEOs. Well, it's sort of weird because now SEO is just kind of a part of our job. It's just a part of our job, right? So this on the left, right, this is people with SEO in their job title, and on the right, job description. 500,000 people in the United States on the right, 17,000 on the left. And LinkedIn isn't perfectly representing this, but you're getting a good sample here, right? Here's the Moz industry survey, right, that we ran last year, October, November. Look at that, only 30% of people, and by the way, if you exclude India, this shrinks to like 25% of people who say that SEO is actually in their job title. It's their best description of their job title, right? It's far more broad. The people who do SEO aren't calling themselves SEOs. And so I think this is where we get our quiet revolution, right? SEO is changing not with a bang. It's not like keyword not provided killed us, or the latest link algorithm killed us, or any of the things that any media has ever said SEO is dead about. And I am not saying SEO is dead either, but it sure is changing. And so I think what this really has provoked in all of us is this identity crisis. This identity crisis where we ask ourselves, is the best way for me to do my work as an SEO to call my work SEO? To call myself an SEO? Or is there a better way forward? Or a different way forward? So this sort of, you see these like equations happening in all of our heads, right? That we have this complexity, like Google is growing in complexity, SEO is massively growing in complexity, but people think that it's getting more accessible, that it's getting easier. And that really sucks. Like, that really sucks if you are good at this work and this is a great talent of yours. And so that means we can keep having problems with lack of respect, influence, and resources. And, you know, we see that with search growth leveling off, like growth is not shrinking, and certainly raw numbers are not shrinking, but the growth itself is flattening out, right? The growth curve is flattening out. So search is growing more slowly than it was previously, because it's just so damn big now. And Google's taking tons of those head of the demand curve queries for themselves, And there's increasing competition because finally big brands are starting to invest in SEO, and Google's biasing to brands so they don't have to do quite as well as the smaller folks do in order to compete. Right now we get this desperate need to find more and more new creative opportunities. And because of spam tactics, right, the things that Google is doing around spam, because of the brand biasing, and because of these broader algorithms that are considering more things, we get kind of a decline of like the old school SEO, the classic keywords and links model, right, which even today, for some people, still kind of works. But I don't think it has a bright future ahead. I don't think anyone thinks that. So my big takeaways from all of this change, from this quiet revolution, are actually probably not that different from many things that you're already doing. So I don't want you to be scared about them. But one of the biggest ones is we as SEOs, or as marketers who do SEOs, or own SEO functions, have to create better expectations. It is not the case that everyone who hires you to do SEO if you're a consultant or an agency, or everyone who employs you to do SEO if you're working on a team, knows how incredibly complex and hard and difficult and what the levels of responsibility are and the vast variety of those responsibilities are. That's not the case. They don't know. They don't know that it's become more complex. They think it has in fact become simpler. And so our job is to create those expectations. Second, if you're investing in new channels, new opportunities, things that people have not done before, you will find two things to be true. Number one, everyone will push back against you and wish that you didn't do it and tell you to just go get target some keywords and build some links. You're an SEO, right? Target some keywords and get me some links. Yeah, that's a terrible idea, because in fact, the people who are on the cutting edge are going to be getting more and more of the lion's share of benefit. And this is especially true. You can see so many brands, especially in the startup world, Rap Genius being an excellent example and case study for this, right, who essentially find that early exploit, that early system that they can really ramp up on and do it before other people do and get dramatic benefit from it. And I'm not saying spam, right? Like, that's not in this world. And the third thing is that actually, Danny wrote this great article on Search Engine Land talking about what kinds of spam third door media would and would not cover, right? Like, what will they write about and what will they not write about? And I loved part of it because he just had this like, no more complaining that Google's biasing to brands. Just become one or shut up. Like, just recognize that our world is what it is. And he didn't say it nearly as crudely. He said it quite eloquently, as he always does. But I think what's frustrating about this is that for our entire history, we have not been brand builders. Our job was not brand building. We did a lot of keywords and links, and then a lot of technical stuff, a lot of creative stuff, absolutely, right? A lot of work to try and get things to be more viral, a lot of work to influence teams to do the right things, a lot of opportunity identification and execution, but not brand building. And so it is now weird to me that we live in a world where brands, in fact, are the thing we have to do to be successful with all the other stuff that we do. I think that's going to be a tough path forward for some of us. But knowing it is better than not knowing. All right, with that, thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here. Appreciate it.